Okay, good morning, students. In our previous session, we have completed your unit 2, part 1 is over. Today, we are going to start discussing about part 2. So, in the previous sessions, we have discussed about arithmetic instructions like micro operations, logical and micro operations, shift micro operations, and the register transfer language RTL, all those things under part 1. So, in this part 2, there are various subtopics, totally 8 subtopics are there. So, in our today's session, we will discuss all the 8 subtopics briefly, and in the coming sessions, each and every subtopic in detail we will discuss. So the first topic in this is instruction cycle. The first subtopic here is instruction cycle, or you can say instruction codes. Instruction codes. And second one is computer registers. Computer registers. And the third subtopic is computer instructions. Computer instructions. The fourth subtopic is timing and control. Timing and control. The fifth one is what we have written in the first instruction cycle is the fifth topic. The sixth one is register reference instructions. Register reference instructions. Seventh one is memory reference instructions. Eighth one is input output reference and interrupt reference. Okay, instructions. So these are the 8 subtopics we are going to discuss in this unit 2 part 2. The name of this part 2 is basic computer organization and design. Basic computer organization and design. Okay. So in this, previously we have discussed in the first unit, like there is a monitor will be there, and we have a keyboard will be there, a mouse will be there, and you have a CPU that contains control unit, program unit, arithmetic unit, etc., etc. Totally called as the central processing unit, and each and everything is connected with each other using a bus also. So, but this is the hardware part. And in the previous few sessions of the part 1 of this unit 2, we have discussed inside the CPU how the hardware is designed to perform various types of operations like transfer, register to memory, memory to register transfer, arithmetic operations, certain logical operations, and shift operations. Now, here in this part, purely we are going to discuss about the programming side, coding part. Programming side or coding part means to perform various operations with the help of those hardware parts. So we need certain instructions. We need certain instructions. As you know, that as you are the second year students, every instruction will have a meaning and will have a certain syntax. Syntax, semantics, I need not tell you. You are already familiar with the C programming language and you know the exact meaning of the syntax. So, what is a program and what are the instructions and how different types of instructions are there and how we are going to insert them into the computer and how they are going to activate each other, how they are interrelated with each other. Okay, so all those things we will discuss in this particular part. So now, as a first subtopic of this your part, if you take the instruction codes, what we are going to learn in this first subtopic, that is instruction codes. So, in this instruction code subtopic, we need to know what is a program. We need to know what is a program. Every one of you much familiar about the definition of a program, that it is a set of instructions. It is a set of instructions. So now, what is an instruction? What is an instruction? So, group of instructions are called as a program, but individually, what do you mean by instruction? So, it is the logical, syntactical form of an operation to be performed. It is a logical or syntactical form of an operation to be performed by the computer as per the directions of the user. I am repeating, an instruction is a logical, operational, syntactical form that is performed by a computer and is based on the signals or program or whatever you say entered by the user. So, what is an instruction? We are going to discuss. And then, what is instruction cycle? So, as you said, like the fifth one. So, what is an instruction cycle? So, means the moment you enter an instruction, that will be stored in certain place. So, once the program is stored here, so once a program is stored, if we want to execute this program by the computer, what are the various steps behind it? What are the various steps behind it is together called as an instruction cycle. Of course, there are different subparts in this instruction cycle that we will discuss when we go to the point number 5 of this part. Now, next, after you know what is an instruction cycle, now what is an instruction code? What is an instruction code? Here, for example, MOV, move. You can say move. So move what? What are you going to move? You can write here R1 comma R2. You see, move R1 comma R2. This is an instruction. So total is an instruction code. So an instruction code contains two parts. One is opcode. One is opcode. Second one is operands. Opcode and second one is operands. So here, what is an opcode and what is an operand? So opcode is nothing but the action to be performed. Opcode is nothing but an action to be performed. But on which we are performing the action? On operands. Okay, so every instruction code contains these two parts. So now with the instruction codes, what is a program, what is an instruction, what is instruction cycle, what is the opcode, and what is an operand, and then what do you mean by a stored program organization? As we have discussed just now, if there are set of programs or set of instructions are there, those instructions after you type on your using your keyboard, they will be entered and stored in a memory, and whenever this computer wants to execute the stored program that is there in the memory. Stored program means which is there in the memory. If the computer wants to execute, how it is going to organize the stored program. So these are all the various issues we will discuss under this part 1 instruction codes. So repeating again before I am going to clean this board. So under instructions codes, you need to know what is a program and what is an instruction, what is an instruction cycle, and what is an instruction code, and what are two parts of the instruction code, that is opcode and operand, and how a program that is stored in the memory is organized by the computer. How a program that is stored in the memory is organized by the computer, we are going to discuss in this particular part 1 of this unit 2. Now coming to the computer registers. As we have discussed in the previous sessions, RTL, that is Register Transfer Language, I told you there are R1, R2, etc. registers are there, and I have given you one more register also like AC, and I have given you one more register named as BR, base register, and one more register data register, like this. So whenever we want to perform any type of operation, it may be an arithmetic operation, logical operation, shift micro operations, or whatever it is, we need to perform on certain data. We need to perform that operation on certain data. So perhaps that data, certain data is stored in the memory and will be copied into the registers first. The data that is stored in the memory is copied into the registers, and by using these registers as operands, we will perform the operation. Now what are the different types of registers generally a computer will use? We will just list out here and we will discuss them in detail in our due course. The different types of computer registers that will be used by a basic computer we will list out, and in detail about those registers we will discuss in the due course. So various registers that are used are DR, AC, IR, PC, TR, MAR, INPR, OUTR. See, there are general basic computer we are discussing. Okay, general basic computer we are discussing. So there are totally 8 registers will be used here. So out of these 8, these two, 7 and 8 are called as input and output registers. The name itself is giving you input register and output register. They are used to feed the data and used to read the data. Feed the data, store the data and read the data, like this. So what is the full form of DR? It is stands for data register. DR stands for data register, and AC stands for accumulator. AC stands for accumulator. IR stands for instruction register. IR stands for instruction register. PC stands for program counter. Program counter. What is the purpose of each and every register and what is its length, how it looks like, all those things we will discuss later. TR stands for temporary register. MER stands for memory address register. Memory address register. So INPR stands for input register and OUTR stands for output register. Okay, these are the 8 types of registers that are being used by a basic computer. So all these things we are going to discuss in detail when you come to the topic called as computer registers. Okay, now let us go to the next one, computer instructions. Third one is computer instructions. The third subtopic here, what we are going to discuss is computer instructions. So under this computer instructions, there are all the instructions that are being used by a computer to perform a certain task given by the user. I am repeating, all the instructions that are being used by a computer to perform certain task given by the user to fulfill the user's expectations are classified into 3 categories. One is memory reference. Just see here, this memory reference. Register reference, just see here, register reference and IO reference. See, this is IO reference. So, in these computer instructions, there are several number of instructions are there fetched in a computer to perform different tasks. And based on different criteria, all those instructions are broadly categorized. Of course, why I am using the word broadly means there are again maybe subtopics in this memory reference and register reference like that. But broad categories are only 3 categories. One is memory reference instructions, second one is register reference instructions, and third one is IO reference instructions. So each and every type of instructions, their syntax and their usage, and when we are going to use, what is going to happen inside the computer, all those things will be detailed discussed. But however, all these computer instructions are broadly categorized in 3 ways by keeping in mind various operations to be performed. They are again your arithmetic instructions, okay, your logical instructions, okay, and your shift instructions, shift operations, then data transfer operations, then program control operations, branch related operations, and input and output instructions. Okay, input, output, and whatever I told you previously, the 3 categories, broad categories like memory reference, register reference, input and output reference, and of course here in the input output reference I have written one more word called as interrupt also. So even though only there are 3 categories, category 1, category 2, category 3 are there, but all these category of instructions should perform these all. As we have discussed already, arithmetic like add, subtract, multiplication, division, complement, increment, decrement, and then logical, or operation, end operation, all those, and then shift left, shift right, circular right, okay, arithmetic shift, arithmetic right, and then data transfer. When a data is there in the memory location, transferring that to the register, and after performing certain operation from the register, we need to transfer that into the memory, or from one register to another register, how to transfer, and then controlling the program by your control unit. So to perform all these operations, we need a unit that is going to control entire system. For that purpose also, we need certain instructions which are called as program control instructions, then branch related instructions. So you might have already executed these branch related instructions in C programming with the help of like if, okay, switch, for, while, like. So if this is condition is okay, execute this, or don't execute this, go to here, like this. And switch, you have case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4. So okay, if case 1 is executed, these 2, 3 will not be executed. If case 1 is not executed, either of these 3 will. So like that. So out of certain group of instructions, if you want to execute only a branch of instructions, there are n number of branches are there. So one branch of instructions are executed. So at that point of time, so what will happen? How we are going to control such type of branch related executions will be there by using the branch related instructions. Then inputting the data, how to input, what are the related instructions, and storing the data after execution, what type of instruction we use. All these types of instructions are broadly categorized into 3 types. That is memory reference, register reference, input output reference, and of course there is the third one, extra one, interrupt reference are there. We will discuss that at that point of time. So these are the various things that you need to keep in mind while you are categorizing the all computer instructions into 3 ways broadly. Now the fourth one is timing and control. So in fact, if you have a syllabus copy with you, or else the syllabus copy I already posted in your like cloud, Google Cloud. You can go through it and you can download it. You can see this timing and control part is not given in that syllabus of this part 2 in Unit 2, but it is somehow related with the remaining things. That's why even though it's not there in syllabus, we have to discuss about this. Like basically, there are the total programs are basically categorized into 2 types: hardwired control and microprogrammed control. Hardwired control and microprogrammed control. So when I have seen the previous question papers of your subject, this question, what is the difference between the hardware control and the microprogrammed control? So frequently it is being asked. That's why even though it is not there in the syllabus, under this timing and control concept, we will discuss about what is the hardware control and what is microprogrammed control, what is the difference between these two, and what do you mean by a timing diagram? What do you mean by a timing diagram? Of course, in our previous sessions, we have discussed one timing diagram by drawing a square wave like this, or you can say like this also. There is a timing diagram will be there. So at T0, what will happen if you are going to give the instruction at T1 times slot 1, and at T2 what is going to happen, at time slot 3 what is going to happen. Based on that, a timing diagram will be drawn, and this timing diagram is controlled by these 2 types, and hardware controlling and microprogram controlling. So under this timing control, even though it is not there in our syllabus, we will discuss about these 2 topics, and specifically the basic differences between these 2, hardware control and microprogram control, we will discuss when we go in detail about the timing control. Okay, and the next one, that is instruction cycle. So as I told you previously in the instruction codes, so when I told you what is an instruction, what is a program, okay, what is the instruction cycle, okay, what is opcode, operand, all those things. Under this fifth topic, that is instruction cycle, see, stored program control we have discussed there, stored program control. So when a program is stored in a memory location, when a program means set of instructions are stored in a memory location like this, which is stored by you only, by the user only. And if a computer wants to perform its execution, the instructions that are there in the memory first need to be fetched by the CPU. Already they are in the memory. So if you want to execute, this first instruction need to be fetched. After fetching, so the first step of executing a program is fetch the instruction. So after fetching the instruction, as I told you, it will be decoded. So the second step here is decode the instruction. Decode the instruction means after fetching the instruction, so that instruction will be decoded into machine language, okay, and then after decoding, sometimes we need to read the EA, where this EA stands for effective address. So what is this effective address and why need to read the effective address, we will discuss in detail when we are going to discuss about the instruction cycle. So the fourth one is execute the instruction. So basically an instruction cycle contains three parts. One is fetch, second one is decode, third one is execute. Please remember, fetch, decode, execute. So an instruction cycle if you want to discuss, we need to discuss about these three: fetching, decoding and executing. Previously when I told you that this timing and control cycle, so when we are going to write a timing diagram like this, at a t0, at time slot 0, first the instruction will be fetched. Okay, at time slot 1, the instruction will be decoded. At time slot 2, the instruction will be executed. Okay, meanwhile there may be a necessity occurs to calculate the effective address or to read the effective address. What is this effective address means? See, if I say add R1 comma R2, or you can write here add R1 comma R2. So this instruction is there here, add R1 R2. So these three will be read here. Means the value that is there in R2, the value that is there in R1 will be added and the result will be stored in R1 only. So the meaning of this one. So here directly the values are given in R1 and R2, the input values. But sometimes, remember, sometimes the input data will not be given directly. That is, that input also stored somewhere in the memory location, and this address of the input is given in this instruction. The address of the instruction will be given in this instruction. So for that purpose, so whatever the address is given here, from that address, if we want to calculate the input value, we need to fetch that address. We need to calculate that address. That address is called as your effective address. So whatever 6000, if I say, 6000 is not the value that you are going to add to R1. 6000 is not the value that you are going to add to the value of R1. So whatever the value that is stored in 6000 location is going to be added to R1. So there is an inner meaning, and sometimes even effective address is also more difficult to calculate. It has some other inherent meanings also that we will discuss in detail when we are going to discuss about the addressing modes. Addressing modes is one of the important topic that I think that will come in your unit 3 when we are going to discuss about the addressing modes. What is effective address and how to calculate effective address will be discussed in detail. Okay. So now, with this we can if we cover all these fetch, decode, reading, executing topics. Now we can say instruction cycle, that is part number 5 is going to be completed. Okay. Now, sixth one, register reference. Sixth one is register reference. See, what are the various register reference instructions are available, and what is the syntax of each instruction, and what is the meaning of each instruction, that will be discussed under this register reference. And the various register reference instructions we have are CLA, CLE, CMA, CME, and CIR, CIL, INC, SPA, SNA, SZA, SZE, HLT. Okay. These are different types of register reference instructions. We have. What do you mean by register reference means? These instructions will work on directly on the registers. Remember, when we discussed about this computer registers, there are 8 types of computer registers are listed out. But out of which there is one register which is called as AC. AC stands for accumulator. AC stands for accumulator. This is one of the default register. One of the default register will be there in each instruction. For example, means you may be get confused. So if I say now add R1, R2, it is very clear. R2 and R1 gets added. The result will be stored in R1. It is clear. Otherwise, if I say add R1, now you tell me add R1, with what value of R1 is going to be added? If you want to perform addition, you need 2 values, but here only we have given 1 register. So at that point of situation, there is a default register is considered where one of the input is there in the accumulator. The meaning of this one is AC is nothing but AC plus R1. So the value of R1 is added with the value of accumulator, and the result is finally loaded in the accumulator. So if no second register is mentioned in any of the instructions, default register you have to assume is the accumulator. It will be used for any arithmetic operations or for any logical operations as a default register. Okay, that you have to remember in your mind. So here if you say CLA, clear accumulator. clear accumulator. When you are going to write your a C program, generally you can say CNT, count 0. I don't know whether maybe it is right or wrong in your C language. Count 0. What does it mean? Initially the count value is set with 0, or else say you can write sometimes sum is equal to 0. Some value will be initiated with 0. Okay. So like that, if you want to clear the accumulator, whatever the previous data, the previous stuff that is there in that random values, that will be cleared and set with 0. Accumulator will be set with 0. Like that, clear E. E means it is not a E register, it is a flag register. There are certain, apart from these 8 types of computer registers, we have certain flag registers also. Positive registers, negative register, like that, sign register, okay, enable register, okay. All those flag bits are there. What do you mean by flag bit? A flag is always a one which holds one bit at a time. A flag is a register of length 1 bit. A flag is a register of length 1 bit. You can also call it a flip-flop. You can also call it a flip-flop. Means this value of this flag either 1 or 0. It may be varies from 1 to 0. So if you want to clear the enable flag, we use CLE. So of course CMA, complement, CME, circular right, circular left. Like this, there are different types of register difference instructions are there. So each and every meaning of the register difference instruction and what will be the output at the end of this instruction. Okay, all these things we will discuss in the register difference. Okay, now next seventh one is memory reference instructions. So what are the different types of memory reference instructions are? Say AND, add, LDA, STA, BUN, BSA, ISZ. Okay. Now you may be having a doubt, sir, like this AND is a logical instruction also. Yes, AND is a logical instruction also, and in the same way AND is a arithmetic instruction also. But simply if I say AND, what do you mean by AND? What do you mean by AND means whatever the value that is there in the program counter location, a memory is there. In that particular memory, there is a first input value is there, first input value is there, and the second input value will be there in the accumulator. So with this first and with this second value that is in the accumulator, AND operation will be performed. This is nothing but AND to AC. AND to AC. This is nothing but AR to AC. So this is load accumulator. Load accumulator means whatever the data that is there in the memory, that will be loaded into the accumulator, or else stored accumulator, storing the value of the accumulator into the memory. Okay, this BUN, as I told you, branch instructions are there. Branch unconditionally. Branch unconditionally means sometimes you will write your this break or continue instructions will be there. So without checking any condition, sometimes you will perform some conditions. Or else JMP is there. Jump unconditionally. Without having any condition after executing certain instructions, you will be jumping to other location. So for such type of jump instructions, we will use branch unconditionally. Like that BSA. So increment and skip if 0. Increment and skip if 0. Branch if accumulator is positive. Branch sign. Okay, accumulator is positive. Like that, all these memory, they are related with memory. end the value of the memory with accumulated, add the value of the memory with accumulated, load the accumulated with memory value, store the value of accumulated into memory. Like that, as these are all somehow internally related with memory, that's why these are all called as memory reference related instructions. So when we are going to discuss about this point number 7, we will discuss all these things, their syntax, their semantics, their structure, and everything will be discussed here. Okay? Now, the 8th one. Eighth one, input, output, and interrupt reference related instructions. Okay, so input, output, and interrupt reference instructions, if we discuss, like they are INP, OUT, SKI, SKO, ION, IO off. Okay. And I think one more is also there, clear. Okay. So these are all some of the instructions that are related with the input, output, and interrupt references. So simply this is input. Input, you will give a number, port 1. So these ports, again, these are the hardware related. Most of the times this ECE background students will be known very much about the concept of the port. Means certain times the data is stored in the port numbers. Port number means all the input devices or all the output devices that are connected to our computer, are given certain port numbers. So if you want to directly receive the data from that port number, we will use input port number or out port number. So the data will be displayed on this port number 3. Sometimes it may be the monitor. Sometimes it may be the monitor. Sometimes it may be the keyboard. Okay. So like this, with the help of the port numbers. And then SKI stands for skip if input. SKO, skip if output. Interrupt on, interrupt off. Like these are the various types of instructions that are related with the input, output, and interrupt type of devices. Now here, you know very well what is an interrupt, what is an input and what is output. But there is a new term. Let us we discuss very few points about what is this interrupt. What is this interrupt? Generally, this interrupt, simple. It is a when a program is being executed. When a program is being executed, in the middle of the program, if anybody comes and what I can say, put a comma to your program, means hold for some time, you want to execute some other program, then this situation is called as an interrupt. Say, to make it very clear, let us take a very normal example. When a teacher is going to take a class to you all. So, a teacher is going to take a class to you all. So, one of the attender came and just standing in front of the classroom. So, that is nothing but an interrupt. So, this teacher stops teaching you and will attend the attender. So, he will ask what for you are waiting. Then this attender says that principal is calling you, sir. This is nothing but an interrupt. Okay, so here these interrupts again are broadly categorized into two ways: directional interrupt or no directional interrupt. Like you can say in a technical word, maskable and non-maskable. Maskable and non-maskable. So what do you mean by maskable and non-maskable? Again, if you take the same example, teacher is teaching, when an attender comes and disturbs the teacher's teaching and says, principal is calling. Principal is calling. So what he told, he disturbed him, means he interrupted him. He interrupted him and told that principal is calling. So what is the next duty of the teacher? Stop teaching there and need to attend the principal. So there is a direction is given to this interrupter. So he will directly go and meet the principal. That is maskable interrupt. Again, coming to the non-maskable interrupter, the same attender came and disturbed his way of teaching, stops the teaching, and somebody is waiting for you. Somebody is waiting for you. So then this teacher went to the ground floor and is watching for who is that somebody waiting. So no specific direction is given to go and execute next. So he stops the teaching and then he is going to meet somebody. Who is that somebody? Nobody knows. So he need to go to his room or his department or the corridor or ground floor, wherever it is. So I am so and so. Anybody is waiting for me, like that. He need to identify himself that who is that somebody. So because there is no proper direction is given to meet or to execute next. Such type of things are called as non-maskable interrupts. So some instructions that are related with this interrupts comes under the category input, output and interrupt related instructions. And perhaps whenever we are going to discuss all these registers, computer registers that are available in a computer, you must know one thing, that how the components of a computer are connected with each other. How the components of a computer are connected with each other using certain group of wires are called as bus. All the components of a computer are connected with group of wires called a bus, and the same bus also is used to provide the connection between various computer registers. As we have discussed, there are 8 types of registers are there. 8 types of registers, and memory is also there, group of locations, 8 type of registers, and this memory locations all are connected with each other by using a common device called as a bus. So here also bus is going to place an important key role in connecting the various devices. So a bus will be like this. Like this will be there. This is a common bus. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Like 0 to 7 means 8 types of registers, and then some memory locations, and then some flag registers. All these are called and will be selected by using some S0, S1, S2 select lines. And whenever this is 0, S1, S2 or 0, 0, the first this one will be activated, and if it is 0, 0, 1, this one will be activated. If it is 0, 1, 0, like this, based on the values that we are going to send the select lines, the bus will be connected with any of these registers. So how we are going to organize all these registers also with the components of your computer with the help of the bus also, we will check out in this unit. So this is the brief subtopics of your unit 2 part 2, that is basic computer organization and design. So after end of this part 2 in this unit 2, you must be familiar with what? Inside the computer, how a program is entered, and how it is fetched, and how it is executed and how it is decoded. For that purpose, what are the various types of software instructions we are using, what is the format of each instruction, what is the length of each device, what are the different types of registers we are using, how they are being involved in the set of instructions. All those things must be familiar with you by end of this particular part 2. Okay. Now today with this we are going to put a conclusion, and in our next session we will start discussing in detail about the first topic, that is instruction